Hey, gang, welcome back to another episode of the Power9 podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Eggert. My guest today has learned from experiences in athletics, business, and family to continually be a student of leadership. Plus, we will get to understand why AQ is the real differentiator in successful leaders. I'm excited to share with you the journey of my friend, Erik Norman. Erik,
Hey,
welcome to the show.
thanks, Aaron. Appreciate it.
Yeah, sweet.
Love being here.
Have you been on any podcasts before?
I have been on a
Yeah,
few, but it's
good.
I would say I'm rusty.
All right, good. Well, I always say, I just wanted to be a couple friends catching up, and this is legit because it is a couple of friends just catching up. I've been talking a little
Perfect.
while, so this is perfect. Plus, I kind of know your story, but it's so fun to be able to
Sure.
dig into some of these things and get into the detail and all that fun stuff. And that's why I love doing this, because it just reminds me how awesome people like you are and how lucky we are to have you aligned with our community. So I'm going to go back to where you grew up. So you were born in
Okay.
Illinois, but you were pretty much raised in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about your childhood and your family dynamics growing up.
Yeah. No, a great question. It all sort of stems from that in the end, doesn't it? A little bit.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I grew up in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. Had lived in a couple of other places prior to that, but really, I would say my formative years from second grade forward were
Gotcha.
were Eau Claire, Wisconsin, which was a
Yeah.
wonderful place to grow up. I mean, I had what would be looked at as a fairly traditional, family, mom, dad, two, a brother and a sister, right? So the classic sort of family of five.
Yeah.
Very nurturing for me. I felt it was very nurturing family. We had the great fortune of having good experiences, skiing, travel, just enjoy opportunities to get out and explore and camp. And I mean, we just had a well-rounded childhood. But my mom and dad were learners. Both of them really valued education. They valued hard work. They valued discipline and accountability. Although we probably tested the boundaries of those as teenagers, as most do and maybe should,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So,
Yep.
but they gave us the great experiences, but they also allowed us the joy of failing and having to deal with consequences of, you mess up, there's consequences. You make a bad decision, there's consequences.
Yep.
And I'm thankful for that. I'm very thankful for the family dynamics we grew up in, and I think it provided a great foundation for us growing up.
What were their careers, your mom and dad, respectfully?
Dad was a physician in Eau Claire, ear, nose, and throat guy. Mom was a teacher. She taught both high school and at UW Eau Claire, biology and zoology.
Oh,
And it's a
geez.
great place to go if you wanted to find cat cadavers.
Right. Let's step away from that one. That could get really weird. So what was your jam then growing up, as far as like, I alluded to athletics. That was a big
Yeah,
part of your upbringing. You just mentioned the
yeah,
outdoors. What were some of the things that really kept you going, even through high school?
yeah. For me, competitive swimming was the biggest part of my life growing up. I mean, I probably started at the YMCA when I was 7 or 8 years old, but really from the time I was 12 through college, competitive swimming was a year-round activity for me. It gave me incredible opportunities to travel and to learn about myself through setting goals and failing and missing goals and dealing with people and dealing with kind of learning to be kind of independent at a fairly early stage. I spent almost all of my summers away, either at swim camps or living with other families to swim with different teams. So that I was, let's say, I had I developed the itch and the bug to kind of get out in the world early on because I had these great experiences through competitive swimming, and so that was a big part of my life. But we love to just bike and run down to the creek and play in the pond, and my brother and I would go bird hunting quite a bit, and it was fun, taking our shotguns around, and when
Yeah.
it was appropriate and legal to do so. But
Right. Right.
we spent a lot of time outdoors, just doing normal kid stuff. It
Sweet.
was It was kind of, that was the main bulk of it, and hanging out with friends. Golf, big passion for golf.
Yeah,
Probably
I
my
know.
favorite pastime, right up there next to now pickleball.
Oh, yeah, I know that. You didn't put that in any of in my I didn't put that in any of my show notes, but we need to get to pickleball and why
Yeah.
you love pickleball so much. Did you so you said competitive swimming. So a couple things there is, I know that athletics were a big part of, or are a big part of your life now, golf and pickleball.
Mhm.
What was the probably the highest achievement that you had in swimming that you look back on of like, okay, that kind of defined my swimming career?
Oh, that's a good question. I think what defined it, I guess, from an achievement standpoint, was probably entering becoming one of the first, or one of the early, high school All-Americans out of Eau Claire, Wisconsin, at Eau Claire Memorial High School. That was pretty special at the time. Swimming at Indiana University, I mean, just that, the collegiate career was exciting and fun. But I think, honestly, when I look back at it, the thing that I value the most now wasn't I had a good swimming career. It was the things that I learned from that. And I think the biggest takeaway for me was I had an injury in college that kept me out for a period of time. And I was dealing with a lot of just kind of mental stress, and I was stuck inside my head, and I couldn't get outside of, I just couldn't get past myself and anxiety and I'm all the things that run through your, you think you're washed up when you're
Right.
19, I mean,
Right.
but I had the benefit of spending time with a sports psychologist, and I learned the power of visualization and mindset, and just how, your mind is such a powerful tool for you in any capacity of life. And so when I look back now, I think the greatest takeaway for me was that the one thing I could control is how I think, and how I think is going to determine certain outcomes for me. And I can visualize what I want to achieve and where I want to go. And it doesn't mean that you get it all the time, but it's the frame of mind. And that I think was probably the single biggest takeaway for me from my competitive swimming career. So it was less about swimming. It was more about the life lessons.
I think you're kind of giving us a lead into some future question regarding to what I alluded to with the AQ and how, I wanted to step on my own touchstone call here and ask you about like how you use that now, but I'm going to get into that in a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I do think that what you just said and the lessons you learned because of your swimming career has informed how you lead now and how you have designed your career. So let's park that. I'm going to add that to the old parking lot here.
Sounds
Where'd you
good.
go to college?
Indiana University in Bloomington. Go
Why?
Hoosiers.
Yeah, why'd you go to Indiana?
I went to Indiana. It was a toss up between Indiana University and University of Minnesota. And my Indiana University was coached by a guy by the name of Doc Councilman at that time, and he was a very legendary coach in the swimming world. Had the most Olympians of any collegiate coach at that time, including people like Mark Spitz. At one point, Indiana University probably had 85% of the world records at the time. So there was just a legacy there that was very enticing for me. And my high school swim coach was a big influence on my life as a leader. And in talking with him about, geez, which choice should I make? I ultimately chose Indiana University. And it helped. I mean, I knew a couple of guys on the team down there from some of the regional competitions I was involved in. So I knew more of the guys on the team down there than I did at the University of Minnesota at that time. So that's how I picked.
Did you that's a big school. What'd you go to school for?
I majored in telecommunications, which at that time was things like, this probably dates me, wide area networks, local area networks, fax machines. Whoa. But I thought I liked it because it was a liberal arts through the College of Liberal Arts, minored in business, but for me, it gave me kind of the flavors of, journalism and emerging technology, advertising and business. So I felt for me it was the well-rounded kind of degree I wanted. And I like many kids, I didn't know what I wanted to do growing up, and I mean I still wonder what I want to do when I grow up. So
you and I have had that conversation.
It was a good spot for me.
Yeah. All right. So we're gonna take a quick break. We're gonna listen about a few of our community supporters, and then I'm gonna come back and we're gonna jump into your first job, your first quote unquote real job, and then start going down your career path.
All right.
We'll be right back.
When you think of a typical CPA firm, you probably think of tax planning. Well, that just scratches the surface of what Boulay offers their clients. By providing smart, in-depth thinking from experts in accounting, audit, tax, and business consulting, they know what it takes to achieve financial success. Whether it's protecting your business, building your wealth, or securing your future, you can count on Boulay to go beyond addressing just financial matters and providing you with tailor-made, workable solutions. Learn about all they have to offer at BoulayGroup.com. Boulay, helping you get there. Listen, people, everyone needs a bank. Not just any bank, a good community bank. From personal needs like checking and savings accounts to business services like financing and M&A support, the team at Flagship Bank is there to provide you with the assistance you need so you can spend less time thinking about your finances and more time enjoying what your money can do for you. To learn more, head over to flagshipbanks.com. That's flagshipbanks with an S.com. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Flagship Bank, investing in you. United Healthcare believes there's no limit to what care can do. UHC is continually focused on building a modern, high-performing health system via improved access, affordability, outcomes, and experiences. With a network of over 1.3 million care professionals and 6,500 hospitals and care facilities, United Healthcare is dedicated to connecting you to better health by offering quality benefits designed for affordability. Go to uhc.com for healthcare plans, resources, and more information. United Healthcare, helping people live healthier lives.
All right, we're back with Erik Norman. Thank you so much for getting us through up to college. Now so first real job, so quote unquote real job. It's I gotta believe it. You're a sales guy through and through. Did you just know that did you get into sales right out of college?
No. And I've never thought of myself as a sales guy. I'm salesy, there's no doubt. I mean, I like to be out front. I'm comfortable there. But yeah, I mean, my first job out of college actually was in sales. I moved to Clearwater, Florida because it was sort of September and getting cold. And I thought, well, why am I staying in Wisconsin? I don't have a job. So I moved to Clearwater, Florida, and I picked up a sales job there for about 6 months. And then I had to come back home because I got married. And my wife had a better paying job than I did. So I made that decision pretty easy. But my first,
so hold on a second. Did you get married in Florida and,
no,
or you got married in that process? Okay. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, I went to Florida and I came back because there was a wedding date and I was, it's a whole different story. I'm lucky to have her. She's amazing.
We'll get into your family. We'll get into your current family. Yeah, we'll get into that. Yeah, for sure.
I thought I wanted to go into advertising and be like an advertising account executive. That was my first path. But then I didn't have sales experience. And in talking with a business owner in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, who was a friend of my father, he gave me the advice. He just said, hey, go get sales experience and just go get raw, at the time, just cold calling down the street, carry the bag and sell. And you'll learn whether you stay in sales or not. His point was, it doesn't matter what you're doing in business. You're having to convince somebody of an idea or a product or something, and it's relationship driven. So I took his advice and I found a sales job at a little office equipment dealership in St. Paul called Wagers, and I sold fax machines. And I had a territory, and my days were spent cold calling, and it was hard. It was not a lot of fun, but my commitment was, I'm going to do that for a year, and then if I make it a year or after a year, then I'll look at other avenues. And I made it a year, and moved on after
Well,
that.
and you got to check the box on using your telecommunications degree. So
Yeah,
all of that made sense, right? So
that's
you
right.
didn't,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So there's
yeah.
that.
It was
And
great.
don't you think that sales is, and especially early on, it being your first, I mean, I think everybody should sell as their first job, or early in their early 20s or whatever, when they're getting into business, because you get to touch every aspect of the business. And then you get to decide, like, is sales for you? Yes, or maybe not. Maybe finance is more, or operations is more, or something like that. You get to see all the different facets. That's where the magic happens, I think, as well as knowing that in every role within a business, everybody sells to somebody else, whether it be selling to a colleague, selling to a client, whatever. It doesn't matter. You're always selling.
Yeah, and it's the people and communication skills, and understanding that there's somebody that wants something, either of you, if it's a service, or they want your product, but it's navigating the relationship and figuring out that it's not about you, it's all about them.
100%.
And yeah,
relationships drive everything, right?
They do.
Yeah. All right. So you spent time, so you got the year under your belts. Did you jump ship right then, or did you decide that you're going to hang out for a bit?
Well, I was in the decision-making kind of window, and my sales manager at the time moved to a company in Bloomington called Quotient Corporation. And they were in the office equipment space and print space, mostly from a supplies and parts perspective. The analogy I would use is they were sort of the Napa Auto Parts of the office equipment world. And they were growing at the time. So he moved to that company, and he left before I left. And as it got near that 1 year time, having built a relationship with him, he brought me into that organization. And I started out as in the product development area. So it wasn't sales, but it was certainly, we were involved with a lot of the selling process. And so those skills were great, but we did a lot on the supplier side of things. We did a lot of business planning and development. And so there the journey went from, kind of product development to product management to marketing to, managing business units. And that was a wonderful, boy, I gotta look, 16-ish year journey.
Wow.
And it was a tremendous learning curve. And the company went, the division I was in went from sort of 6 million and being in sales and being put on the chopping block to about 125 million in sales from 1991 to about 2001.
Wow.
So that was it was an awesome growth trajectory.
What do you attribute that growth trajectory to?
Oh, I think the company was the right time in the market. The company had a dynamic leadership, a real dedication to quality and customer responsiveness. The people in the organization were wonderful, and the overall market was growing. So that window of time, average companies performed really well. Good companies performed exceptionally well. Bad companies got along just okay, because the whole market was just, the tide was rising, all boats go up, that kind of concept. And we were one of the leaders of creating that rising tide. Did
you focus on just domestic, or did you do global work, or how large was the distribution that you touched?
Global work. It ended up being a little over a $400 million enterprise. Wow. In total. And, we 1,400-ish employees, locations all over the globe. And so my role became very international. And I've had the joy of doing business in probably 26 or 27 countries around the world now. And spent a lot of time overseas, Asia, South America, Europe. It was blessed. Just in the early days, oftentimes it was being on international junkets with our CEO or some of the other executives, and just the power of observation, being in their presence and watching how business worked at that level. Being there as kind of more felt like an assistant capacity. but boy, the things that you could watch and learn and grow and get involved with just expanded the horizons for me. And I loved it. It was a blast.
What was your favorite country to travel to?
Ah, good question. One of my favorite cities is Singapore.
Hmm.
Um, it's
How come?
just, I don't know. It's cool. I mean, it's yeah, I just like all aspects of Singapore. Europe has, of course, been, very comfortable for me. I think Germany's fun. I like England. A lot of people go, why do you like England? But I just have so many friends there now. It's kind of a heart connection.
Yeah.
And I think Buenos Aires is one of the coolest cities in the world too. I would put that in my top 5 for sure.
So when you were there, that's when you made that transition into leadership. Um, so what did you do? You spent 16 years there. You got to a point to where you were running a good chunk of the overall revenue. What made you decide that it was time to go?
Well, I moved different organizations. We had multiple ownership changes. It became private equity owned.
Mm,
And, I felt there was a comfortable career, but I felt this feeling of golden handcuffs. And to be fair, I looked at what it would take to continue to grow there. And I didn't know where that would lead me. And there were times navigating what were the politics of the organization that I didn't necessarily like what I saw when I looked in the mirror.
mm,
And I just didn't enjoy it as much. And I felt I needed to make a change. It was either I stay and I'm going to be there for the long haul, or move on and try something new and see where that course takes me. So I decided it was time to move on. And the business was changing. The market was slowing down. It was becoming harder to do well in that space. And so I just needed a new personal challenge.
yeah. What'd you do?
I I took a journey, and I worked for a couple of years with a friend who is in the property management company. He buys and sells apartment communities primarily,
Yeah.
and not necessarily the sort of sexy amenity kind, but the pretty low end kind.
Okay,
And
gotcha.
so I worked with him for a couple of years, and helped on the property management side. Um, doing some general management, some sales and development consulting with the leasing agents, all sorts of things. So I did that for a couple of years. I thought it would be an exploration into real estate. And I realized that again was just not the space that I needed to be in. And then one of my clients who at Caton, a Canadian company and dear friend of mine, was looking for somebody to come on and lead his organization. And so I left that and joined them. And that was this company called Reprographic Technology up in Kitchener, Ontario.
Yeah.
So I lived in Minnesota, and that was my first sort of global remote leadership job.
Yeah, well, I mean, you had good experience with the global side of things, but
Yeah,
it's never
yeah,
easy you were leading remotely before leading remotely was cool, because of COVID and all that other
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
So is this,
Skype was my best friend.
I don't doubt it for a second. And I don't even know if Skype is a thing anymore, with Zoom and all this other stuff. I think
Yeah,
it's Teams now.
yeah.
Did you what did you work through as far as some of the challenges? And I think this is about the time where you started we alluded to adversity quotient, between this role here and some of the challenges that you had to work through
Mm,
at RTI, and then also obviously your next role as you got into leading sales and marketing over at Bolger. A lot
yeah,
of different adversity related things, and the mindset is what you really had to lean on. And that, going back to the sports psychology aspect of things that you alluded to, is you're talking about AQ versus IQ and EQ.
yeah,
Break that all down for me, and
yeah.
kind of the why behind it.
Okay, so Wow, there's a lot to unpack in that, Aaron.
Yeah, I know.
So RTI, the short story is we had to pivot as a business pretty aggressively because we were in an area of one area of fairly significant decline. We knew there was a runway. The question was just how long was that runway going to last? So we had to pivot. We pivoted. We pivoted into a new technology space within the print industry. Became an early OEM company for an emerging technology. And the analogy I would say is, you kind of don't want to be the first wave that crashes on the beach. We were probably the second wave, and it crashes reasonably hard too. But anyway, we ended up through, it's a long story that I won't get into here, but the company ended up having some challenges financially. We worked with a platinum group in town here to help us try to correct some of that, which included trying to get the organization recapitalized. And we ended up with some challenges on the ownership structure because we had a European-based ownership structure along with, the Canadian gentleman and myself at a very small amount, and we couldn't get agreement. And so ultimately, that led to some decisions, and we ultimately decided that we needed to close the business. So that was a challenging time. So there was a period in that where, I was flying home from Europe, and in one of these sort of modes of woe is me. Why are we doing all these decisions that felt like it was the right process and felt like good decision making, but the results were not good. And so I learned that good decisions don't necessarily mean always good outcomes. Good decisions can still have negative outcomes because there's certain things you can't control. But I was asking, kind of reflecting on, well, we seem smart enough. We're kind of have the right, the EQ, emotional quotient. We're navigating the people and soft issues, pretty decently. And why is it that some people and some companies just continually outperform others, even though everything else looks exactly the same? And this kind of idea of adversity quotient formed. And I realized that, if you're at, if I'm here and I want to get to here, this space between, at that time, I circled on a scratch pad that space. And I just kept thinking about that space. And I just wrote one word in that space, and I wrote pain. And then I thought, well, what's pain? Well, pain is, okay, I got to think differently. I got to do differently. There's things get in my way. It might not feel comfortable. I might be afraid. I might not have the financial resources. I might all be these other things. And I went, well, what is that pain? I said, well, it's adversity. And then I thought about people that I, am aware of or read about or just know. And I went, who are the people that just have this lasting leadership success and growth? And doesn't mean that they have this linear, awesome growth curve. It bounces up and down, but they've got incredible adversity quotient. And it was their ability to turn all those obstacles and barriers and roadblocks, et cetera, into opportunity and not let it slow them down. And so that where I kind of went, well, that's the piece. I mean, if you can be smart and an awesome people skills person, but if you don't have enough adversity quotient, you're probably just going to hit a plateau and stop there. And that's okay. I mean, some people make that choice, and whatever people decide, it's good. But if you're a growth minded person and you want to kind of drive, boy, you better develop that adversity quotient. Otherwise, you're going to get stuck.
Yeah.
So that's where it came from. It was just kind of processing me feeling bad for myself and kind of realizing I needed to slap myself and go, you got to step it up, develop adversity quotient.
Did you have people surrounding who was kind of surrounding you to help guide you through that mindset of leaning into the AQ?
I don't know of any one individual. Let's say a lot of reading. I like a lot of just personal development and just talking to people and, hearing stories, so different leadership, books and things. But I would say one of the people, probably two people, one, a personal, longtime friend of mine, who's in his own right has been on an incredible, business. He's an entrepreneur, and he's gone through some great ups and downs, and nothing seems to get him, to stop. And he goes and just sort of looking at his life and talking with him. And he was an advisor to me at RTI. He's also part of Platinum Group. And then the founder of Platinum Group, Dean Batchelor, who passed away a couple of years, was a great counselor and encourager. And he just had he had some amazing perspective to share because a lot of his life was dealing with helping companies do turnarounds. And so he saw every bit of, crappy situation you can imagine, and help people and organizations navigate it through it. So he was somebody that I looked at as a mentor in that time frame as well. But
Nice.
And I was fortunate. I had people that would be sounding boards for me. I could go someplace, and this is one of the reasons, plug for groups like yours at C9. I think you need outlets where you can talk to peers and people who can relate to what you're going through or give you different perspectives, because it's, paradigms, man, we get trapped in them. And sometimes we need somebody to shake us out of our own and give us a new one.
Yeah. And it's lonely, right? Like I don't care at what level you're at, and you get caught in your own head, and all the things that you probably were thinking through on that flight home or flights home from Europe. Like that's all that inner dialogue that needs to get broken down.
Yeah.
And just like you said, get slapped upside the head. And that's why you have these tribes.
Yeah. I remember talking to people, like, going through the COVID crisis at Bolger. I mean, that was sort of interesting, but I always told people, hey, it's okay to be in that place. We're all going to be there where we're down and we're just, we feel sorry for ourselves or whatever.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's pretty normal. You give space to do that. You just can't stay there.
Yeah.
At least in my opinion is we have to find ways to either pull ourselves up or have people that can help pull us up and move forward.
And I feel like, so I think I know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So all that adversity that you went through and kind of winding down the business and all of those things, then having to go and lead through what was a super challenging time for everybody, most recently COVID, did that make you more prepared to then take a different mindset as opposed to what probably the people surrounding you within the organization maybe had, because you went through such different challenges?
I guess I can't say comparatively,
Okay.
did it make me more or less prepared than others. I mean, I think the reality when COVID hit, nobody was prepared. I mean,
right. Yeah.
What did we know? But I think all of those experiences certainly help me. I'm told that I'm very calm demeanor. And in times of craziness, it's, I don't look like I'm maybe wrecked. Now, I can tell you that I'm probably pretty wrecked. I'm going through the same stuff. It's just, for whatever reason, I can kind of compartmentalize really, really well. And so and I think those experiences, through my life give you that ability to start compartmentalizing things. Which, by the way, compartmentalizing sometimes can also be my downfall. But in times of kind of crisis or adversity, I think it helps keep you in the right frame of mind, realizing, okay, this is a time period. This isn't sort of, the end of the world as we know it. It's change. Change is going to happen, and sometimes it's forced on you. But I can still pull back and think through, how do we react? How do we plan? How do we deal with scenarios? And, at Bolger, we had a really good leadership team, and nobody had all the answers, but we could talk about scenarios, if this, then that type of structure. And that was our approach. And the organization, this is a hands-on print manufacturing company. And we had to pivot to, safety and remote, just like everybody else in the world, and you find answers, and you encourage people along the way that they can actually do it, despite the fact that they maybe feel they can't.
Do you think you maybe have what's a good thing that a practice that you always lean on to compartmentalize or to be able to manage or lead through adversity? Is there something that you do or a practice that you have that helps you through things?
Well, I try to I don't know about practice. I mean, I try to be mindful. I mean, I have, sometimes it's more consistent than others, but I generally try to have a pretty consistent morning routine. I need some quiet space for me while my mind is fresh and not cluttered with the day. And you know, I'm a person of faith, so I mean that definitely informs and grounds me. So I try to have as many mornings as I can, just some time where it's time of some gratitude, some affirmations, which I need to kind of, you know, it's positive self-talk. But I go to, I'll study or I'll read, you know, it might be something that's biblical, or it might be something that's leadership development, or it might be something that's motivational. But I try to have at least 30 minutes of time where I can just be with me and collect my thoughts and going into the day, and to do it with the right frame of mind, rather than just waking up and just, you know, all of a sudden, you know, because the fury of the day is going to be there no matter what. I mean, it's just going to be there. So that's probably the practice that I have, and that kind of keeps me grounded. And I've got others around me that keep me grounded too, you know, and that always helps.
Yeah. Well, you need that support, right? And I also have a morning routine, and I do think that I've had other people on this show that have talked about like how important that morning routine is, and mindfulness and gratitude, and so it's very, very true to what others are experiencing as well. So we're echoing a lot of that as well, and I'm glad to hear that works for you. All right, so let's dig into what you're doing now. So you recently just took a pretty cool role, and you've been doing a lot of international travel again. So you're getting back on planes. Talk a little bit about your new role now, and kind of what the future holds for you.
Yeah, so I took a role leading it's called swissQPrint, swissQPrint America. So I'm leading that organization based in Elgin, Illinois, is our headquarter location here for the U.S. and Canada. The parent company is Swiss, as the name implies, and I just started that mid-October. So I'm 9 weeks deep, and I'm probably just entering that phase where you start to realize, you know, you know what you don't know. But it's been great, and in some respects it's very familiar because it's the marketplace that I know and love, and I love print, and I love the technology around it, and I love the craftsmanship and the creativity, and it's just a great space for me. And it leverages a lot, you know, years and years of connections in the industry, both domestically and internationally. So that's been fun. It's really been a joy to be back in that space again. And I you know, anyway, it's been really good. So right now I would say, you know, I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm trying to understand our client perspective of our business and our people, and looking at processes, and really just getting to know the business. And you know, 2023 looks to be a pretty exciting year. We've got some nice aggressive growth plans, and we've got an awesome little team, but some pretty strong people. And I will tell you that the brand equity that swissQPrint has, and the brand loyalty that has been developed over the years, it's off the charts. It's something like I've never experienced. I've had, including even just yesterday, clients telling me stories about ease of use and operational success, and entering new markets that they've not been able to enter before on the back of their partnership with swissQPrint, and they're just like fanatical about the product. You know, so we need to figure out how to better leverage that kind of, you know, incredible brand loyalty, and so that's been great. I'm thrilled with the foundational elements that I now get to work with and build vision and strategy around.
So is it, my dad worked in printing for 45 years, and I was around printing and stuff like that. So is your clients printers and the people that actually do the printing? And then you mentioned brand equity is, but I've never heard of the company.
Yeah,
and
you
right.
wouldn't.
And so it's more around
Yeah.
brand awareness, but is the brand awareness really good in that industry?
No, the brand equity within our client
Yeah.
base, and I'll say the first sort of adjacent ring of people who are interested is really high. It's off the charts. Our brand awareness in the general market, if you're outside of print, well, of course, but most people outside of print have no brand awareness of what's in print. I'm not too worried about that. But the brand awareness within the print community, that is our opportunity to really build that and increase that base. But to building brand awareness from a strong brand equity standpoint is a wonderful place to be. So I'm thrilled with that. But our clients are printers. Yes, our typical clients they're printers. They are manufacturing companies who use print as a component of their process. So think, membrane switches or dials or other things that are used in industrial applications. Could be printing on glass or plastics or other things that go into a broader fabrication process. And also artist community. We do a lot in the fine art reproduction space. So when you think about reproduction of original oil paintings in galleries, companies that produce those works, or typically printers or specialty printers, would be part of our target audience.
All right, cool. All right, let's talk about your family. So you alluded to the fact that you were you got married and you moved to Minnesota. Did you? I think I remember you at one point telling me that you and your wife went to high school together.
We did. I married my high school sweetheart. Yes.
I love it. I love it. So what's your current family dynamic then? Tell me about your family.
Well, it's me and her and 3 daughters.
Oh,
and they're fantastic. They're all in town. One's still at home, with us as she's finishing some schooling. But they're fantastic. I mean, they're competitive, they're strong-willed, they're independent. They're just great young women. 2 of them are married, and so I've got a couple of wonderful sons-in-law. So I get the guy fix through them.
Here you go.
So that's been a nice dynamic. But yeah, it's a very close family. The girls are close, and I'm very blessed and very thankful for just a great consistent location. And I'll tell you, with traveling for so much of my time over the years, just having a place that could keep me grounded and just know that it's someplace safe, and they're loved, I'm loved, I'm supported. My wife is a very independent person, which was good because it worked in that dynamic. But she was always one, and still is, to kind of remind me when I'm out of balance, and I need that help, because you can kind of just go down a path and then you realize, oh, whoops, I'm forgetting about people that might be important to me, and I can get kind of self-centered that way. And so she's always very good about keeping me kind of back in line, and I'm thankful for that. I need that.
Yeah, we all need that support at home, and
it's great. So we're not 100% empty nest, but getting darn close, and starting to figure out, well, what comes next with that.
Pickleball, more pickleball.
Yes.
All right.
She's not drank the Kool-Aid quite like I have yet. So
you've obsessed over that again, and it's getting big too. So Lifetime's getting into it, and everybody's getting into it. All right. We're running up against the clock here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a quick break. We're going to hear about a couple more of our community supporters. And then we're going to come back and we're going to dive into 9 questions and get after it.
Sounds good. All right.
Regardless if you're a startup just figuring things out or a medium-sized organization with a full team, having a legal partner by your side is crucial. Seiler Law is fiercely loyal to their clients and are passionate about removing headaches and roadblocks that can pop up during the growth of your business. Whether you need general outside counsel, are planning a business transaction, or even need someone to help guide you through the estate planning process, the team at Seiler Law are the advocates for you. Visit seilerlaw.com to learn more. Seiler Law, where experience meets pragmatism. The topic of talent is hot in organizations of any size, and I would argue none more than small to mid-sized businesses. That's why it's crucial to have a partner to help you navigate all the HR idiosyncrasies so you can focus on working on your business and not in it. Insperity is a full-service HR partner with a high-touch, high-tech platform helping owners work through challenges like employee retention, company culture, and benefits, just to name a few. Do yourself a favor and explore all they have to offer at Insperity.com. Insperity, HR that makes a difference.
If you're an entrepreneur or married to one, your journey is complex. You want financial advice that impacts your whole net worth, including your business, not just stock market investments. You also want a partner that quarterbacks the relationships between the CPA, estate planner, banker, and other trusted advisors. That's where the team at eWealth Partners comes in. We love helping you and your spouse design a financial plan that aligns and empowers you. A plan that addresses your concerns, priorities, and goals tailored to reach your long-term vision. A long-term vision that is worth the pursuit today. Visit ewealthpartners.com to learn how they can help couples like you. eWealth Partners, holistic financial planning for entrepreneurs. Investment advisor services offered through AdvisorNet Wealth Management. eWealth Partners and AdvisorNet Wealth Management are not affiliated.
If you're anything like me, you know enough to be dangerous when it comes to finance, yet need some help when things are complicated. All-in-One Accounting provides the right financial expertise and leadership to align with your stage of growth. From outsourced accounting and bookkeeping to strategic financial planning, the team of accounting rockstars at All-in-One Accounting are passionate about positively impacting the lives of their clients. Check them out at allinoneaccounting.com. All-in-One Accounting, taking our clients from financial chaos to business clarity and beyond.
All right, we're back with Erik Norman, who is so excited to do 9 questions. I can tell by the look on your face. If you're watching this on video, then you can also see it. That's a little sarcasm. Do you, can you confirm to me that you have no idea what I'm about to ask you?
I have no idea what you're about to ask me. And I would admit to being a little bit nervous about what you're going to ask me, but it'll be okay.
Good. Yeah, you're fine. AQ, lean into the AQ. All right. First question. What was your first concert?
My first concert, Sammy Hagar.
Cool. With or without Van Halen?
Without Van Halen. This was Red Rocker days.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Are you a tequila drinker? Do you drink tequila?
Not often. Let's say too much tequila is not a good thing for me.
Yeah, no bueno. What is your biggest pet peeve?
My biggest pet peeve, people who move too slow.
That doesn't surprise me. You're very methodical, but you move quick once your switch flips.
Yeah, if I'm stuck behind slow moving people like in an airport, I'm ready to lose my business right there. It makes me crazy.
Yeah. What is your favorite sound?
My favorite sound?
Yes.
Oh. Boy, that's I'd probably say birds chirping.
I love that. Oh,
it's
good
peaceful.
answer. That's fun. Yeah, that's a very peaceful answer. One of my favorite things is waking up in the morning, like early at like 5 in the morning in the middle of summer, or even like late spring, early summer, and the birds are going crazy outside, and that's what wakes you up. Like that is as good as it gets, as far as I'm concerned. If you're going to wake up anyway,
dog barking, that's for sure.
Yes, or the neighbor's dog barking.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Your first would you rather question. Would you rather go into the future and meet your great grandchildren, or go into the past and meet your ancestors?
Ooh, that's a toss up. I think I'd go in the future.
Yeah. I think that says, based on the way, that doesn't surprise, I'll just say that doesn't surprise me based on the way I think your mindset is, and just the story you shared about your journey. That doesn't surprise me. So yeah. Have you ever had a nickname?
Norm.
I love it.
Yep.
Like Cheers.
Norm.
Do they yell it like Cheers?
Norm.
Or no?
Never met a beer I didn't like. Which is not true, by the way, but from the Cheers thing. But yes, Norm. Oh, yeah. That was growing up, everybody called me Norm.
My favorite Normism was he walked into Cheers and he said, "It's a dog eat dog world, and I'm wearing milk bone underwear." And that's that's a Normism if I've ever heard one, and I think about it all the time.
It's a good one.
Yeah, it's a good one. Share one time that you were genuinely surprised.
When my wife told me she was pregnant with our first child.
Yeah. I think anybody who's got kids that's a pretty good answer right there, right?
Yeah, because I think that literally it was either the same day or very soon before that. I was just telling a coworker that I'm not sure we're quite ready for kids yet.
That was the kiss of death right there, brother.
Yeah.
All right. Would you rather lose your vision or your hearing?
I think I'd rather lose my vision. I want both of them, actually.
Yeah, well, that's a tough. I told you that I'm pulling out some hard ones here. So yeah, I don't think there's a right answer to that one. So all right, you can have dinner with two famous people, one dead and one alive. Who are those two people?
One dead and one alive. I'd want to have dinner with Jesus.
Okay.
He's the dead guy.
Yep. Gotcha. Gotcha.
And he's the dead guy and he's the dead and alive guy.
Yeah, I was just gonna say physically he's dead.
Yes. Yeah, the other guy would be I'd probably want to have dinner with John Maxwell.
Ah, wow, that'd be an interesting dinner.
Yeah. I think he's fascinating. His life journey is fascinating, and I love his writings and so forth. And he's an incredible speaker.
Yeah. Wow, interesting. I love that question. Now you've already made it through 8. Their 9th one is, how do you define happiness?
How do I find happiness?
Yes.
I think happiness is just being in a place where there's sort of just contentment and joy, and contentment doesn't mean I don't want more. Contentment means I can be at peace with where I'm at and what I have, and I can enjoy the things around me and be grateful for it. And I just think that you just feel happy when you're in that space. So I don't know if that's a good description or a bad one, but that's how I would define it. I can find contentment and joy.
I like it. Good. That was 9 questions, my friend.
Wow.
That you
Those
survived.
were less painful than I was anticipating. So thank you.
They always are. It's the anticipation that kills you. It's
Yes.
the actual doing of the 9 questions is not that bad. So
Yeah.
I got to tell you, like, getting to know you over the past year plus has been fantastic. I don't know how you find time to be a facilitator for one of our groups, but that just says so much about you and your character and your personality. You are the epitome of what we're building with Coalition 9, and it means the world to me that you guide a group of our 9 leaders. And the work that you're doing at swissQPrint, it's only going to have a positive impact because of your style and your character. So I'm so thrilled that you're on this show and you're a part of our community. Could you please share with everyone how they can get to know you if they want to get to know you, how they can reach out or connect or just learn more about you and what you do?
Yeah, I thank you, by the way, for the very kind words. Appreciated. I would say LinkedIn. DM me on LinkedIn. You can find me at pretty easily there, or they could use my work email, which is eno@us.swissqprint.com. Hence why LinkedIn might be easier, but do it that way. I'd be more than happy to connect, and I appreciate all that C9 is doing. I would say I'm probably getting a lot more back than I may be giving at this point, is what it feels like. It's a dynamic group and a dynamic community, and what you're building it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, well, we're building it together as a community, and I'm honored to have you as a part of it. And it's a flywheel, right? Like it's the push pull of relationships and everything like that. So just a quick note before I sign off here. I make sure to go into the show notes. If you're watching this on YouTube, go into the description. We will have links to Erik's LinkedIn profile and his email address. So you can just click right there. On behalf of Erik Norman, this has been the Power of 9 podcast. I'm your host, Eggert, and I want to thank you for the privilege of your time.